Welcome back, scholars, to our Digital Academy. I am Professor Spark. Whether we are turning the pages of a timeless novel, our mission remains the same. Will today's sweep us into the concert hall? Let's find out together.
Right? Let's dive straight into this explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a story you probably think you already know inside out. Victor Hugo's 1831 masterpiece, The Hunchback of Notre-Dame. But I absolutely promise you, by the time we wrap this up, you're going to see this Gothic classic in a totally new light. We're going to peel back all those familiar layers of the tragic romance to reveal the massive architectural, political, and social depths that Hugo actually buried right there in the text. So to kick things off, I really want to pose a question to you. Who is the true main character of this story? Now, if you're going by the English title or, the dozens of movie adaptations out there, your knee-jerk reaction is probably Quasimodo, obviously, the Hunchback himself, right? But what if I told you that assumption completely misses Victor Hugo's original point? Actually, the real answer might surprise you. The true protagonist of this 1831 novel is the Notre Dame Cathedral itself. I mean, the original French title of the book isn't even The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's literally just Notre-Dame de Paris. Hugo wrote this massive, sweeping story primarily as a super passionate defense of this specific Gothic cathedral. See, at the time he was writing, the building had fallen into really severe neglect. It was falling apart. Ultimately, he just wanted to save a building. So Notre Dame isn't just some pretty background scenery here. It functions as this living, breathing entity. Throughout the story, it acts as a sanctuary offering protection, a prison literally trapping its inhabitants, a silent witness to history, and basically the ultimate symbol of civilization. The cathedral reflects every single emotional shift in the narrative. Its towering walls protect Quasimodo, its massive bells literally become his voice when he can't speak to the world, and its ancient stones just quietly endure, preserving the memories of everyone who passes through its doors. The so what of all this is captured perfectly in this concept from Hugo. He basically said that architecture once served as humanity's greatest storytelling medium before books became dominant. Think about that. Before the printing press, humanity recorded its collective memory, its culture, its entire identity right there in stone. The cathedral's basically a giant book of history. And Hugo's novel, it's a desperate plea to stop tearing those stone pages out. Okay, moving into section 1, a web of tragic fates. Let's step away from those high stone walls for a second and head down into the really gritty streets of 1482 Paris. Here, we meet this fascinating, honestly kind of explosive, collision of personalities. We've got Quasimodo, the isolated bell ringer who is abandoned as a baby just because of his physical deformities. Then there's Esmeralda, this brilliantly kind and innocent dancer who gets totally marginalized just for being Romani. We've also got Claude Frollo, the cathedral's archdeacon, a super intelligent guy who adopted Quasimodo but slowly becomes incredibly, dangerously obsessive. And finally, Captain Phoebus, a soldier whose incredibly handsome exterior completely masks the fact that he's incredibly vain and shallow. And man, these characters just collide into the most intense Gothic drama. It all kicks off in 1482. Frollo, who literally cannot control his toxic obsession with Esmeralda, actually orders Quasimodo to kidnap her, while the attempt fails and Quasimodo gets arrested. Fast forward a few days to his brutal public punishment, and the only person who shows him a single ounce of mercy is Esmeralda, who steps up and gives him water. This one little act of compassion completely alters Quasimodo forever. But, the tragedy just accelerates from there. Weeks later, Frollo catches Esmeralda with Captain Phoebes and, in this jealous rage, stabs him. Phoebe survives, but Esmeralda gets falsely accused of the crime and sentenced to death. This whole thing finally culminates with Quasimodo literally throwing his adoptive father, Frollo, off the cathedral tower to avenge Esmeralda's execution. And years later, we get that absolutely gut-wrenching final image. Quasimodo's skeleton is found just eternally embracing Esmeralda's remains. All right, section 2. Appearance versus reality. Listen, if you literally take just one thing away from this entire explainer, let it be this. Hugo is ruthlessly putting society's judgment on blast. I mean, society looks at Quasimodo's exterior and just sees a monster. Yet inside, the guy is capable of extraordinary loyalty, courage, and genuine compassion. Now, contrast that with Frollo and Phoebus. They walk around wearing the holy robes of the church and the shining armor of a respected soldier. But beneath those beautiful, noble exteriors, just profound moral corruption, vanity, and sheer cruelty. Hugo is loudly, clearly arguing that external beauty so often conceals inner ugliness, while an outward deformity can hide profound, beautiful humanity. And this whole appearance versus reality thing, it bleeds right into how these characters actually experience love. Pretty much everyone in the book claims to love Esmeralda, but honestly, only one of them actually does. Phoebus, his love is just superficial lust, plain and simple. Frollo's love is this wildly toxic, possessive obsession that literally destroys everything it touches. Esmeralda's love for Phoebus is pure for sure, but it's tragically naive. It's actually only Quasimodo, the one guy society labels a complete monster, who demonstrates real, selfless, sacrificial love. He expects absolutely nothing in return.
Which brings us to Section 3, Society on Trial. Do you notice a pattern with these characters? Nearly every sympathetic person in this novel is a total outsider. Quasimodo gets cast out for his physical disability. Esmeralda is persecuted purely because of her Romani ethnicity. The broader population of the poor, plus characters like the poet Pierre Gringoire, are excluded literally just for being broke. Hugo's painting this incredibly vivid picture of a society that rigidly rejects anyone who doesn't fit the norm, and he's basically framing that systemic prejudice as civilization's ultimate moral failure. And this critique, it extends heavily to the church as an institution, too. Hugo is very careful to separate authentic spirituality, which he argues is driven purely by basic compassion and mercy, like Esmeralda offering water to Quasimodo. He separates that from institutional corruption. Through Frollo's terrifying downward spiral, Hugo shows us the exact opposite of faith, a rigid religious dogma that suppresses natural human emotion until it has nowhere to go but erupt into horrific violence. Knowledge and faith, when you strip away basic human empathy, just become destructive fanaticism. The legal system doesn't fare any better. It's totally riddled with tragic miscarriages of justice. From Quasimodo being publicly humiliated for a crime he barely even understood, all the way to Esmeralda being literally tortured until she confesses to witchcraft she obviously didn't commit. The medieval court in this story literally accepts racial prejudice as hard legal evidence. Hugo is showing us a justice system that isn't searching for the truth at all. It's basically just a cruel theatrical performance designed entirely to punish the innocent and protect the powerful. So when you look at all these forces of fate, the circumstances of their birth, their social class, their appearance, obsessive human nature, it proves this wasn't just some story about random bad luck. The tragedy of the Hunchback of Notre-Dame is the direct, brutal consequence of flawed human choices operating inside an incredibly unjust societal machine. The game was totally rigged. They never really stood a chance.
Section 4. The Legacy of Notre-Dame. Now, right before everything goes completely dark at the end, there is this iconic, pivotal moment. Quasimodo basically swoops in, sweeps Esmeralda away from her own execution, and carries her right into the cathedral shouting one word: sanctuary. In that moment, the cathedral literally becomes a place of refuge. It stands as this massive physical fortress against corrupt political power and a profound symbol of hope. Because even when the human characters fail, even when they perish, the stone sanctuary endures. It stands there, preserving their memory. And here is the absolute coolest part of this entire shebang. Victor Hugo's crazy plan? It actually worked. The real-world impact of this novel was just staggering. When it hit the shelves, it sparked this massive, widespread public obsession with Gothic architecture. It quite literally jump-started the historic 19th century preservation and restoration of the real-world Notre-Dame Cathedral. Humanity's greatest storytelling medium in stone was literally saved because of a story told in paper and ink. How amazing is that? So the cathedral was saved. But here we are nearly 2 centuries later, and it really makes you wonder, has modern society actually learned to look past outward appearances? Or do we still judge, marginalize, and completely misunderstand others based entirely on the exterior, ignoring the profound humanity hiding right in front of our faces? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you decide who the monster in a situation really is. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.